One of the biggest changes that ever happened in the history of multiplayer video games is the introduction of matchmaking. It was supposed to make things easier for everybody. You don't have to look for servers anymore, just let the game do it for you and do it faster. On paper, it seemed like a revolutionary improvement, and in some ways it is, but it also had a disastrous impact on how people approach games, and their mentality while playing them. Today we're going to talk about one of the main reasons behind it, which is the introduction of ranked modes and MMR, or matchmaking rating. What rank is considered good for a new player? How to get over my fears of losing in ranked? Are casual matches just filled with sweaty smurfs? None of these things are something that you should ever have to ask or experience. So today, we're going to take a look at how ranked mode changed games forever. I know some of you don't like this, but I promise, this time it's important that we go back to the origins. It's the only way to get the context and the frame of reference for how we got here. So, we as humans were always fiercely competitive. That's why we have hundreds of different games and sports where the entire point is to, well, beat someone, outplay them, to be better, faster, stronger, or smarter than your opponent. Most of us find the challenge and intensity of a head-to-head competition to be fun and exciting. But you know what's not fun? Feeling hopeless, like you just can't win, like it's impossible. At the same time, it's not fun when your opponent poses no challenge. A victory that does not require effort is meaningless, it's boring. You could still enjoy playing with your friends or use it as a sort of social event. But if you want to enjoy the game itself and not just the company, you will have to find people who can actually challenge you. That's the entire reason why every sport has some sort of rating or class system. It became especially common around the second half of the 20th century, with the emergence of the famous ELO system. It was initially designed for chess, but it didn't take long until other sports would adapt it as well. And decades later, alongside the Glico system, it would play an important role in the development of online matchmaking. Now we're finally back to video games, but people are still people, so they make games where you compete with others either directly or by the means of achieving the highest score. And while we usually consider esports to be a pretty modern thing, the earliest documented video game tournaments date all the way back to 1972. In spite of that, it's important to note that for the longest time your average gamer wasn't all that competitive. And there are a few major reasons for this. There was no punishment for losing and no reward for winning. The only thing that mattered is how you felt about it, and most people simply played because they enjoyed the game. Then Halo 2 came about and drastically changed everything. It was possibly the first game to introduce matchmaking, which also took player skill into account. For the sake of creating a sense of progression, it was divided into 50 skill ranks and made intentionally inaccurate. As in, it would take more matches than necessary for you to reach your actual skill group. Since then, almost every single game picked up on this system, creating a situation that we find ourselves in today. The new system is incredibly beneficial to player retention. Turns out people just love grinding away at things. Having a number that goes up as you win games gave some people an extra bit of motivation to actually play games that they might have deserted otherwise. The developers picked up on that, and some pushed it even further by separating your rank from your MMR. Now you get the benefit of accurate matches alongside the artificial grind for ever greater highs. But of course, the picture wouldn't be complete without mentioning the ranks themselves. The dry but efficient numbers were replaced by precious metals, gems and minerals. Instead of telling people that you have 1900 ELO, you could tell them that you're diamond, a champion, a legend, or even a god. It is scary how effective this strategy was. If you watch any gaming videos or streams, then you've seen the type of content that's entirely centered on ranks. If you look under the surface, the content itself is mundane. It's just people playing the game as they normally would. That's because gameplay is no longer the point. The point is the destination. It's a road to such and such rank, or some sort of a challenge. It's a way for viewers to vicariously enjoy the satisfaction of climbing to ranks. And therein lies the problem. We started this by mentioning how matchmaking was supposed to make your experience better, to deliver you good matches, and to streamline the process of looking for games. But instead it became a tool for player retention, a constant source of dopamine and positive reinforcement. Many ranked systems won't even allow you to derank until you reach a certain point, all to get people hooked on the sensation of hitting the next goal and to avoid the disappointment of losing progress. Don't get me wrong, it definitely works for some people. They can thoroughly enjoy the experience of both playing the game and the progression of reaching new ranks, but it also creates unnecessary problems, like the ones we mentioned at the start. Ranked anxiety, stress and burnout are pretty common, especially among new players. Team games manage to circumvent this by being team games. You can always get carried or at least blame your teammates. Fighting game players don't have this luxury. The pressure to perform well is entirely on you, and the pressure is real. That's why I have people asking what can be considered a good rank. They basically became a status symbol. That's why you see this soul-like rank distribution. People reach a new division that allows them to say, I'm platinum, or I'm in purple ranks, and then a portion of them just stops playing. Some don't even get to this point and decide to dedicate more time to games that are less stressful or exhausting. Not to mention the rampant one-and-dones and rage quits that happen because people want to preserve their precious ranked points. Or the toxicity that comes with the frustration of your progress being taken away, all for the sake of some ultimately meaningless images that don't even do a great job of representing your skill or ability. This system is unlikely to change. It's too beneficial for the developers and even some of the player base. But hopefully, we as a community can help to encourage new players and reassure the existing ones. There are no good ranks, just images attached to your MMR. None of those things define you as a player, only your attitude does. And believe me, if you ask fighting game players how good they are, like 90% of them will tell you that they suck, even though none of them do. Because if they are playing and enjoying fighting games, that is good enough.